Good morning. We're now on the record. The time is now 9:07 a.m. Central Standard Time on December 7th, 2022. This begins the video recorded deposition of Michael Barker being taken in the matter of affirming the existence of recreational customary use at all for the Circuit Court for the First Judicial Circuit, NN4, the County of Walton, case number of which is 2018-CA000547. The videographer today is Christopher Tisa. The court reporter today is Kim Martin. We are both representing Esquire Solutions. Counsel, will you please announce your name and who you represent, after which the court reporter will swear in the witness.
Yes, my name is Alan Levine. I represent a group of beachfront owners called Becker Interveners. And I'm going to go down the list. The first one on the list is Mr. Sickler.
Here.
Who do you represent?
I represent the Edgewater Interveners.
Okay, Mr. Tatum.
Stephen Tatum on behalf of the Matthews and Jones Interveners.
Mr. Andrade.
Alex Andrade on behalf of the Sunset Beach Association Interveners.
Mr. Wheeler.
Evan Wheeler on behalf of Jerry and Bruce Okrepke individually and as the owners of Unit 301 of the Whispering Sands condo.
Mr. Osborne. Who do you represent? You're on mute. Okay, there's someone named Alan Osborne in the participants list. I'll skip to the next one. Mr. Levant.
Good morning, Edward Levant. I'm a law clerk with Warner Law Firm for the county.
Okay. Ms. Brantley.
I'm a paralegal with Stearns Weaver Miller for Walton County.
Ms. Burhans.
Glenn Burhans, Stearns Weaver Miller on behalf of Walton.
Pratt.
Joshua Pratt on behalf of the Holtzman Vogel Interveners, along with my colleague Kent Safrit.
Ms. Guillou.
Hello, I'm with Becker on behalf of the Becker Interveners.
Ms. Borowski. Okay.
Mr. Levine, this is Alan Osborne. I'm just listening as a concerned citizen.
Okay. It's not a public matter. Does anyone object to Mr. Osborne attending this proceeding? Mr. Osborne, are you a party in this lawsuit?
I'm a taxpayer, and that's the county. I mean, I've attended every other one. I mean, it doesn't say it's closed to the public. I think that's the way you ought to notice it. We pay for this bill, and I'm a taxpayer. You want an address?
I'm not objecting to your attendance.
Okay.
I'm asking if anybody else objects to your attendance. Having heard no objections. It also says in the list Walton County Attorney. Who is that?
Matthew Richards, Office of the County.
Okay. There is something wrong with your audio there.
We're aware.
Is there anyone else in the participants list who I've overlooked who has not made their appearance?
Mr. Levine, John Howell on behalf of Interveners, Thomas and Adele Dake.
Anyone else? Okay, please swear the witness in.
All right, Mr. Barker, can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony about to give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Levine, this is David Theriak. I'm in person at the deposition of Walton County, and I represent Walton County.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Theriak. Is there anyone else in person who should be making their appearance?
No, Mr. Levine.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Barker. My name is Alan Levine. As you heard, I represent various beachfront owners along the coast of Walton County Beach, and they are referred to as Becker Interveners. First, let's talk about where you're sitting today. Where are you located?
I'm in the Walton County Courthouse, Phoenix Springs, in the County Commission boardroom.
And who was there with you?
Mr. Theriak, court reporter, can't remember her name, and the videographer, can't remember his name.
Okay. Some of the rules for this deposition, since I am remote from you, we're using Zoom. Number one, you can't be looking at any iPad or tablet or a phone. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Let me pause for a minute because for some reason my screen is frozen. Is it frozen for anyone else?
No.
Okay.
No.
The witness screen is frozen, yeah.
Yes, the witness is frozen,
Right.
and he's gone.
Okay. Let's go off the record until we get the witness back.
We're off the record
Sounds
at
like-
9:13 a.m. We're back on the record at 9:16 a.m.
Ms. Parker, before we lost video and went off the record, I had asked you about who's in the room with you.
Yes, sir. Mr. Theriak, court reporter, and the videographer.
And I also gave you instructions that you're not to look at any cell phone or a tablet. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything today, either physical or mental or otherwise, which would prevent you from completely and truthfully answering questions?
No, sir.
At the end of this deposition, you'll be given the right to read the transcript of the deposition and make changes to that transcript. If you make changes, we will be able to tell Judge Green what your original testimony was and the changes that were made to it. Do you understand that?
Yes.
During any breaks that we have today, you will not be able to ask your any lawyers for the county any questions about the questions and answers that you're giving or have been given. You understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's start with your background. What is your educational background?
Graduated high school from Walton High to Phoenix Springs. From there, I attended vocational technical college a couple of different times. One for computer programming, the other for law enforcement. Through the years, I do not have any degrees. I have various certifications from law enforcement to computer programming to real estate license. Took a number of professional, I guess you'd call it professional development courses and certifications through that.
Where's your residence today?
I live in Phoenix Springs, actually Oakwood Hills area, which is west of the Phoenix Springs, Florida.
What is the street address?
123 Beaver Dam Road, Phoenix Springs.
What is located at 123 Beaver Dam Road?
A residence, single family residence.
How long have you resided there?
About 5 years. A little over 5 years.
You first came to the county when?
Originally?
Yes, sir.
1982.
How old were you?
21.
So you graduated from high school in Walton County,
Yes, sir.
but you first came to the county in
Oh, I'm sorry.
1980.
No, I thought you meant when I first worked for the county. No, I'm a native of Walton County.
All right. You were born in Walton County?
I was actually born in Escambia County in Pensacola Baptist Hospital, but lived in the Phoenix Springs.
From the time you were born?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to ask you about your work history. If you'll give it to us in chronological order. Tell us where you worked and what you did, how long you were there, That would be really helpful. Starting with after high school, what did you do?
Go back a little bit. Had a part-time job that I worked at a truck stop at actually this was, I guess, the last couple of years of high school. After high school, I went to work for the city of Pensacola, Florida, as a computer operator, programmer. Worked there for, I think that was the latter part of 1980 to early part of 1981. Came back to Defuniak. Went to work at a family operated and owned shoe shop, shoe repair shop. Worked there until about 1983-ish. 1982, I went to work for the Walton County Sheriff's Office as a deputy sheriff at a full-time capacity, while still employed at the shoe repair shop. Worked at the sheriff's office till 1989. Left the sheriff's office in 1989, went to work for the Board of County Commissioners as the emergency management director. Was in that position, the Board of County Commissioners, to 1997. Left in 1997, went to work at a car dealership in Fort Walton Beach, Florida.
Name of?
Quality Imports, I believe was the name of it at that time. Left there in the end of 1997.
You were there less than a year?
Yes, sir. Took a real estate course. I actually left there to finish my real estate course. Got my real estate license early 1998, I believe it was. Went to work for a real estate company in Destin, Remax Southern Realty. I believe that was in 1998. Stayed there I think until probably 99 sometime. The times were a little bit sketchy back then, without looking at the actual resume. Bought a small business in Blue Mountain Beach, a wine and gourmet grocery store. That would have been in 1999, late 1999. I'm sorry.
Called?
The store was
called what?
Barnacles Gourmet Grocery and Wine Shop.
What was the first word you used?
Barnacles, Barnacles. Barnacles.
Oh, Barnacles.
Yes.
Barnacles.
Gourmet Grocery and Wine Shop.
Continue, please. So that you own that store from 1999 till?
From 1999 to 2003, I believe it was. During that time, I changed real estate companies, left Remax, went to work for another real estate company. I think it was called Falk, F-A-U-L-K and Associates, out of Fort Walton Beach. Don't remember exactly how long I stayed with Falk and Associates, if that was before Remax really or after Remax. I'm trying to think back when that was. But during the time I was at the wine store, I went to work for another real estate company called Jolly Bay Real Estate. And they changed their name, I think, to edestin.com Real Estate. Can't remember which one was first. Stayed there for a number of years.
What was the name? Jolly? What was the second name?
I think at one time it was Jolly Bay Realty, and then the other, I think they changed it to edestin.com real estate. And I don't remember the time frames when they changed the name of it. Small real estate company.
And when did you work there, sir?
Sometime during the 1990 or 2000, probably somewhere in the 2000 to 2005, 6, maybe even 7 range. I can't remember how long I stayed at my license at that company. Several years.
And how about at Falk Associates?
I don't remember exactly how long I stayed there.
Give us an idea of the period you worked there. They might have carried my license right out of real estate school. I'm not sure if I worked for Falk before Remax or after. Don't remember those times which one was first. You worked for Remax, Falk, and Jolly Bay Realty that changed its name to edestin.com.
I did.
Okay, continue.
Sold my wine store in 2003. Right before I sold the wine store, I opened up a property management company.
Called?
Sunset Bay Property Management.
Which did what?
Managed pretty much commercial properties from Destin to Apalachicola.
Is that still open?
No, sir.
When did you close it?
2009.
Okay, please continue with your work history.
In 2004, while still operating my property management company, I went to work for the Defuniak Springs Police Department. I was a lieutenant commander in charge of the reserve division. I had reserve part-time officers. I was also the evidence technician and custodian for the department. I stayed in that position until end of December of 2008. In 2009, January 1st of 2009, I went to work for the Walton County Sheriff's Office.
January what date? I'm sorry, sir.
January the 1st.
As?
I was a lieutenant in charge of several different departments.
Continue.
Somewhere around mid-year, I was promoted to captain.
Mid-year 2009?
Yes, sir. I left the sheriff's office in that was 2009. In 2010, somewhere around August, I believe.
Why did you leave the sheriff's office?
I resigned.
Why did you resign?
It was a very busy time during that year. There was a employee at that time had filed a complaint against me, and it was brought to my attention. An internal investigation was launched. Sheriff and I had a discussion about it, and I was pretty frustrated and resigned.
What was the allegation?
The employee said that she had been demoted, and that I had used, I can't remember the exact allocation, to tell you the truth, but I had used inappropriate nature of a relationship to demote her. I believe was the allegation. That was the basis of it.
Her name was?
At that time, I believe it was Lisa McMillan. I think was her last name at that time.
What was the discussion with the sheriff about?
We talked about it. We talked about the allegation, and I told him I thought it was time that I move on. There was an internal investigation. He told me I did not participate in internal investigation. I was never questioned during internal investigation. My understanding for the sheriff is the internal investigation was closed out, and I resigned.
What were the findings of the internal investigation?
And that I don't know.
Did the sheriff tell you what the findings were?
He did not.
Did he tell you were not pleased, that he was not pleased because of the findings?
I can't remember the exact conversation, but I had conveyed to him that that the allegations were not true. But again, I resigned.
These were sexual harassment allegations, right?
I'm not sure if it was really sexual harassment or statements she had said that I had said, or I think it was verbal communications that what she was making accusations for.
Which constituted sexual harassment, according to her?
You would have to ask her that.
How long did, so you worked there until?
2010.
August of 2010. What'd you do next?
I went to work for I'm trying to remember the name of it back then. It was a branch of the Department of Corrections, but it was the Juvenile Justice Detention Center in Jackson County. Was only there a couple of months. Don't remember the exact time frame. Not long. Got a job offer from the Florida Division of Emergency Management in Tallahassee, and went to work for that agency in Tallahassee. That was in 2010, late 2010.
So, August 2010, you resigned from the Walton County Sheriff's Department. You worked for a couple of months in Jackson County for the Juvenile Detention Center, and before the year was out, you had an offer from the Florida Department of Emergency Management
Yes.
to work in Tallahassee, correct?
Yes.
You accepted that offer, and what was your position?
I think the government analyst, I think, was what the actual position was titled, the way the state titles their positions. I think was the actual title was the government analyst.
What does a government analyst do? What did you do?
Pretty much an auditor of federal funds, federal and state funds that had been allocated to government agencies, counties, city municipalities, some private corporations due to disasters.
How long did you stay there?
In 2010, I think till late 2011.
And what did you do next?
I went to work for
11.
a private company in Santa Rosa Beach called All Clear Restoration.
Your position there?
I was operations manager.
Your duties there?
Operations manager of field operations for the company, which was a mold and water restoration remediation company.
How long did you work there?
Till 2012. Don't remember the exact date. The company had some downsizing they done. My position was going to be downgraded into part-time. The hours were cut to part-time hours. And I left sometime in 2011. Not sure what the date.
You were there less than a year?
I believe so, yes.
After you left All Clear Restoration, what did you do next?
I went to work for, not sure of the month, I went to work for another state agency, and that was the Department of Health in Tallahassee. And
When was that?
I can't remember the exact month that was. Sometime during 2011. I don't remember when.
Your position there was?
I was I can't remember the exact title, but it was I think it was a public health preparedness coordinator, I think was the title.
What'd you do?
I had basically 3 counties that I worked with the county health departments, Gadsden County, Franklin County, and Wakulla County. I worked with those county health departments to assist them in writing disaster plans for their health department for the county. And I traveled between those counties.
How long did you work there?
I think that was till late 2011, I think. I want to say it was about 6 months. I think the first of either 2012 or 13, and I can't remember. I'm trying to get the dates in order, but I think it was about 6 months I was there. I got a job offer from the Department of Elder Affairs in Tallahassee, and I accepted that job offer, the Department of Elder Affairs, and that was the first part of the year. Like, I think I left the Department of Health in like November or December, and I think it was like the 1st of January I went to work somewhere in that area with the Department of Elder Affairs.
Your position was?
I was a contracts manager, I think was the position title.
Whose duties were?
I had about 16 counties that I managed the contracts I worked for the SHINE program, which stood for Serving Health Insurance Needs of Elders. They receive fundings through the state for various agencies throughout the state, Council on Aging agencies basically, that usually serve several counties throughout the state. My 16 county area, which was scattered out from Jacksonville to either St. Pete or Fort Lauderdale, and I assisted those Council on Agings in their required contracts, required things they had to do to receive the funding that come from the federal government through the state to them. So I was a contract manager to basically audit their funds.
How'd you learn how to audit?
Managing budgets from my previous jobs, managing contracts that had been grants that I had written for the county in various positions, managing those contracts and working with auditors from local, state, and federal agencies.
For what jobs did you manage budgets?
The county, as emergency management director, I had a budget, and I had several, at any time would have multiple grant budgets that were budgeted separately. Sheriff's office last time had a budget. Budgets at the private company, the All Clear Restoration, was responsible for expenditures and bills that would come in to make sure they were all getting paid, and was being billed properly for the companies that we done work for and individuals. Personal finances.
In the course of managing budgets, did you create budgets or have input into creating budgets?
Yes. As well as my private business.
How long did you stay at the Department of Elder Affairs in Tallahassee?
I do not remember exactly the amount of time. I know I left prior to, it might have been early 2015. I don't remember exactly how long I was there, but I know I left prior to having a hip replacement, which was in March of 2015. So I had left prior to then. So
what did you do when you left the Department of Elder Affairs for work?
And there's one part-time job that I had during the midst in there somewhere that I was still employed for with, and somewhere along the maybe 2012 time frame that I went to work for part-time as a consultant, and that was a Dow Par Corporation out of Fort Walton Beach. That's where their home office was at.
The Dow?
Dow
Can you
Par.
restate?
Yes, DALPAR. And I worked for that company for a number of years on a consulting basis.
What were your duties as a consultant?
I was a subject matter expert for law enforcement, emergency management, and security. The company done training. It was a veteran minority-owned small business. They've done training for government agencies, military agencies, Navy SEALs, Special Forces, in simulation training. They held exercises all over the country, hired people on a contract basis to participate as role players in exercises for military agencies. And I was a consultant for that company on law enforcement, emergency management, and security.
Okay. When you left in early 2015, where'd you go to work? When you left the elder position.
I still stayed as a consultant for the Dow Power Corporation. I didn't work anywhere for a while after having a hip replaced. Trying to remember where I went to work after then. I had a couple of part-time jobs that I worked at. I don't remember if I'd done any of those in 2015 or 2016. And I don't remember the exact time frames, but I worked for a part-time for a Gulf Coast boating center in Fort Walton Beach. I worked in the pretty much the service and parts department. I would help run the service department when he was short on a service manager. I filled in for the service manager off and on for whenever he needed me. I want to say I worked off and on him for a couple of years. I also transported boats to car shows for that dealership. He had a dealership in Fort Walton Beach and one in Foley, Alabama. And I worked there as a part-time as needed when he needed help.
Continue with what else, or where else you worked after 2015?
I worked for a short time at Cowgirl Kitchen in retail in Rosemary Beach. Worked in the retail store.
I assume they sold kitchen parts or kitchen
No, sir.
goods?
It was a kind of like a gourmet grocery wine store, and they sold some trinkets, articles of clothing, and stuff like that.
How long did you work there?
I can't remember. A few months. I can't remember exactly how long.
What'd you do?
Retail sales. Sold wine mostly. Helped people with wine selection, which was pretty much why I was hired.
You gained expertise in wine from your ownership of the wine shop.
Yes, sir.
I'm still in the 2015 to post 2015 period. Continue with your work experience, please.
I'm not exactly sure how long I went. I was still working for the Dow Power Corporation on a part-time basis as needed. It was on and off as he got contracts in that he needed my help with. I don't think I worked anywhere else at that time until 2018. 2018 or the first part of 2019, I went to work for a retail store in Topsail State Park in Santa Rosa Beach. Trying to remember the name of the store. or the company. It was actually a camp store inside of Topsail State Park that was contracted out to a private company. I helped them open that store up. They took it over, got the contract from the state. That was either 2018 or 2019, and I stayed there until late 2020.
Fancy camps?
I'm sorry?
Fancy camps?
That's it, yes. Fancy camps, yes.
What did you do there?
I ran the camp store. They also had yurts, what they call yurts, the fancy tents they set up in the park. But I pretty much ran the camp store, and they'd done bicycle rentals, canoe rentals. I stocked shelves, kept inventory, and ran the store pretty much. It was a one-person operation, and I worked there part-time, a couple days a week until late 2020, somewhere around the August time period. Somewhere in that area.
What you do next?
I was elected to the Board of County Commissioners in August of 2020, took office in November.
From the time that you were elected, have you had any private employment?
No, sir.
You still have your real estate license?
I do, but it is inactive.
When did it become inactive?
Years ago. I haven't used it since probably, last time it was active probably was in, while I was in Tallahassee. I had it active, I think, for a little while, or right after I come back from Tallahassee. So somewhere maybe around the 2015, 2016 time frame. Somehow I haven't used it since then. Can't remember.
Did you have an opponent who went against you?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
Did an opponent run against you in your election for the Board of County Commissioners?
I did have an opponent, yes.
Okay, so you campaigned.
Yes.
As part of that campaign was the issue of customary use raised by you?
Raised by me or raised by other people?
What did you say in your campaign about customary use? In your campaign for election to the Board of County Commissioners?
When asked if I was supported customary use, I said yes.
Who asked you?
Various people. Names of people I couldn't tell you, but people that would ask you questions during the campaign.
You had contributors to your campaign?
I did.
Were any of those contributors beachfront property owners?
I don't believe so. I couldn't say that for certainty without going back. I did not have that many contributors. But I can't think of any that were beachfront off the top of my head. Could have been, but I can't think of any, but it's possible, but can't think of any.
Were any of your contributors people or businesses who would have benefited from the establishment of customary use on privately owned beachfront?
Not that I'm aware of.
Let's take a look at, and I'm going to ask Mr. Andreo, who's our technician, share tab number 11, which I asked our court recorder to mark as exhibit number 1. Can you make that a little larger? Thank you. Are you able to see that, Mr. Barker?
I can, but I'll tell you, I've had, and I've shared this before we started, I've had a couple of surgeries on one of my eyes in the last 6 months, so I have to take some time to focus on things sometime when I'm reading it. So, but I can, yes.
So when I do show you something, I want you to take as much time as you need to read whatever I'm showing you, okay?
Okay.
There was a statement of candidate that I found on the web, and part of that statement of candidate, and I believe it was published by the county, had a list of your contributors. And what I've done here is I've collected that list of contributors. So please take a look at this list, and I'll ask our technician who works for Esquire to, at your command, slowly scroll through it, give you an opportunity to see who was listed as contributors. So take a look at that and then instruct our technician to scroll when you're ready to scroll down to the next part of the page.
Okay, you can scroll. Okay. Okay.
I'm going to ask you 2 questions about what has been marked as Exhibit 1, which reads like a list of contributors to your 2020 campaign for the Board of County Commissioners. Do you understand?
Yes.
Right. Now, having reviewed all those contributors, can you tell us if any one of those contributors would have benefited from the establishment of customer use by the general public of privately owned beachfront?
I could not say that, no, sir.
You don't know one way or the other?
No, sir.
You're here today as an individual, right?
Yes.
You can take that, please?
I'm sorry. I didn't understand.
Take that. Yes. Mr. Andreo, would you please take that down? You're here today, not in your capacity as a county commissioner, right?
Yes.
You are here today as an individual. Is that a yes?
Yes.
Are you represented here today in your individual capacity by a lawyer?
Yes.
Who is that?
Mr. Theriak.
What did you do to prepare for this deposition?
I had a brief conversation with Mr. Theriak.
I'm not asking you about what that conversation was.
Okay.
I just want to know activities.
I had another brief conversation with another attorney, I believe, in Mr. Theriak's firm, twice.
Other than the 2 conversations you had, one with Mr. Theriak and one with a lawyer in his firm, who was that lawyer, by the way?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you his name, don't remember.
All right. Other than those 2 lawyers, Mr. Theriak and one from his firm, have you spoken to any other lawyers about the customary use lawsuit?
Other than our county attorney,
Well, I'm including the county attorney. Have you spoken to the county attorney about it?
Not recently.
When did you speak to the county attorney about the customer use lawsuit?
Months past. In months past. Couldn't tell you exactly when.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Was
So
it longer than a year ago?
I couldn't tell you exactly when, but in months past.
I'm going to ask you a number of questions that I need to establish for the record. What did you talk to Mr. Theriak about?
Objection. Attorney-client confidentiality.
We take issue with that, but are you instructing the witness not to answer?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to obey Mr. Theriak's instructions, Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Okay. What did you discuss with the other lawyer at Mr. Theriak's firm concerning?
I'm sorry, Mr.
position
Levin, I
today?
thought you were done. Same objection, Mr. Levin, and I'm instructing him not to answer.
Are you going to obey the instructions of Mr. Theriak, Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Have you ever worked private security for any of the beachfront owners?
No, sir.
Do you know if anyone on the county commission has ever worked private security for any of the beachfront owners?
Couldn't tell you for certain, no, sir.
You represent District 3 as a county commissioner?
Yes.
District 3 does not touch the beachfront?
No, sir.
It's north?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever owned any beachfront?
No, sir.
What properties have you owned in Walton County?
You want me to name them individually? I'll do the best I can with that.
Sure. List for me the properties you have owned in Walton County, and if you could, when you owned them, and describe what they were.
First residence that I owned was in Defuniak Springs, single family residence. Purchased it in 1984. From there, I bought another single family residence in Defuniak Springs. Couldn't tell you the year. Several years later. Different location, still in Defuniak Springs. And I owned a single family residence in Freeport, Florida. That would have been in the '98, 1998, 97, 98 time period, maybe a little bit before then.
Just so you know, I'm only interested in property you've owned in Walton County.
Okay. Okay, Freeport, Florida's in Walton County.
Right, I understand that.
I had owned a residence, another residence in Freeport, Florida, on Shady Lane. From there, I had another residence and went back to Defuniak Springs, just north of the city, but it's not in the city, but it has a Defuniak address.
When was that?
2007, I believe. I owned another residence, single family residence on Baldwin Avenue in Defuniak Springs. Owned a piece of property, another just out of the city of Defuniak Springs, a few acres, vacant land. I own the residence where I'm at now on Beaver Dam Road. I have owned and still have a lot, vacant residential lot in Defuniak Springs. I have several acres, right at three, a little over 3.5, shy of 4 acres, Defuniak Springs address, but it's between Defuniak and where I live now, Kings Lake area. I believe that's all, I think.
Every time that you purchased a new residence, you sold your old residence?
No, sir.
Do you still own any of those residences? Places where you reside?
One. I own one residence, the other is vacant lands.
That would be on Beaver Dam Road?
That's where my residence is at, yes.
Do you know why the Walton County property appraisers list that property on Beaver Dam Road as vacant?
Couldn't tell you. Didn't know it was listed as vacant, so I paid taxes on the residence there. Filed homestead on it.
You are an advocate for public use of privately owned beach in Walton County, right?
Yes.
You have never owned beachfront.
No.
If you own beachfront property, would you be okay with public use of your beachfront property?
Couldn't say. That's a hypothetical question, and I can't answer hypothetically. I couldn't tell you what I would think if I owned beachfront property.
Well, put yourself in the shoes of a beachfront owner. Would you be okay with people using your private beach?
Again, it's a hypothetical question, and I couldn't tell you how I would feel if I owned something that I don't own now. So, don't know.
How would you feel if you owned a private beach and there were 5 umbrellas set up on it by members of the public?
Again, hypothetically, and I can't answer how I might feel if I had something that I don't have now. I have no idea.
Well, we're not going to agree on whether you can or you can't. You have no opinion on that one way or the other?
No,
you don't know is your answer?
No, sir. Hypothetically, I can't tell you how I would feel on a hypothetical question.
We're allowed to ask those hypothetical questions. So I want to drill down a little bit on that.
Okay.
Is your answer that you don't know how you would feel about the public using private beachfront that you owned personally?
That's correct.
Is your answer that you don't know how you'd feel about people, members of the public, setting up beach umbrellas on privately owned beachfront that you owned?
No, sir. That's hypothetically. I couldn't tell you how I would feel.
You don't know how you would feel if people set up beach chairs on beachfront that you own privately?
No, sir.
You don't know how you'd feel if fishermen fished off of your privately owned beachfront?
No, sir.
You don't know how you would feel if people built sand creations on privately owned beachfront that you owned?
No, sir.
And you don't know how you would feel if any of the customary uses that the county is seeking to establish occurred on beachfront that you privately owned?
No, sir.
No, sir, meaning you do not know?
No, sir. I do not know how I would feel on something that I do not own. If I did, I don't know.
You understand how owners of private beachfront property would not want the public to use their privately owned beachfront?
Again, I don't understand how they feel. I'm not in their situation.
I'm not asking you to speculate about how a particular person would feel, but do you recognize or can you empathize with the people who own private beachfront and don't want the public using it?
I'm speculating, and I don't like to speculate on something that I don't know for certain.
Well, I'm asking about how you would feel. Can you empathize with them?
I'm not in
People
that.
who own private beachfront, can you empathize with their belief that they don't want the public to use their privately owned beach? Can you empathize with that?
Object to the
I'm
form.
asking about your feelings, your beliefs.
Object to the form. You may answer if you can.
I can't tell you how I would feel, and I'm not in that situation.
All right. Well, let's talk about your situation. You own property on Beaver Dam Road, correct?
Yes.
How can you describe the acreage of that property?
It's about 3.5.
And you have a single-family home located on it, you told us?
I do.
How would you feel if members of the public set up picnic tables on your property at 123 Beaver Dam Road?
Object to the form. You can answer if you're able to.
Again, that hasn't happened, so I couldn't tell you how I would feel if something that hasn't happened.
You don't know how you would feel if members of the public set up picnic tables on your privately owned property on 123 Beaver Dam Road.
No,
True?
sir. No, sir.
Is that true? Is your answer true?
Said
Yes or no, sir?
Said I don't know how I would feel. Yes.
You don't know how you would feel if members of the public set up umbrellas on your property at 123 Beaver Dam Road. True?
Object to the form.
No, sir, I don't know how I would feel.
You don't know how you would feel if members of the public started sunbathing on your property at 123 Beaver Dam Road.
Object to the form.
Right?
Object to the form.
Right, sir?
I believe there was an objection to the form, so
You may answer if you can.
no, sir, I do not.
You do not know how you would feel. True?
That's correct.
Would you take any action to remove people who are members of the public using your privately owned property for sunbathing?
Object to the form.
Can't answer. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Don't know how I would feel. Hasn't happened.
I want to talk about your use of the beach. Understand?
Yes.
Your residences have always been over 20 miles from the beach? As crow flies?
I have rented a couple of places in the past that were closer to the beach in South Walton County.
Okay. Your residences have always been at least 20 miles from the beach as the crow flies?
That I owned, yes.
Where did you rent places closer to the beach and when?
1998, 1999, I rented a townhouse in Blue Mountain Beach.
Was that on the beach?
No, it was close. Almost rock throwing distance, but not directly on the beach.
How close to the beach?
Almost rock throwing distance with a good arm, but there was a row of houses between me and the beach.
So I was a catcher when I was growing up in high school, and my distance that I could throw was probably farther than the second baseman. So how far is the rock throw to you?
Not as far as it used to be.
Me either.
It was on the south side of 30A. There was a road in between and a row of houses. So I would say maybe even a couple of 100 yards, maybe a little less than that. Could be less than that.
What was the name of the townhouse community where you rented?
I believe it was Blue Mountain Villas. I think that was the name of it.
Was any portion of Blue Mountain Villas, was any portion of that located on the beach?
No.
Blue Mountain Villas is not a beachfront owner?
No.
Okay. You said 1998 to 1999. Was it a one-year rental?
I did. I rented it until I bought the house on Shady Lane in Freeport. And that would have been in probably 1999, late.
Where else did you rent?
Gulf Walk Townhomes in Miramar Beach on Geronimo Street. Not a beachfront. That would have been in 2006, maybe. First of 2006, I think.
How long?
I was there a little over a year.
How far?
How far from the beach?
Yes, sir.
Quarter of a mile, maybe.
When you rented at, it was called Gulf Walton, I think you said?
Gulf Walk, W-A-L-K.
Gulf Walk was the name of the community. When you rented at Gulf Walk, did you use the beach?
Yes.
How often?
Once a week, maybe twice.
Including in the winter?
Yes.
When you rented at Blue Mountain Beach townhouses, how often did you use the beach?
Probably about the same.
What'd you do when you used the beach? When you rented these locations on the beach?
Sit in a chair, go in the water, walk up and down the beach.
Anything else?
Can't recall, don't think of anything.
Were you there with family?
Sometimes.
You and your wife?
I wasn't married at that time.
When did you get married?
2010, August 10th.
Was that your first marriage?
Second.
I'm going to ask about who accompanied you to your beach. So just tell me a little bit about when you first got married, children, and you got divorced.
First got married in 1982. 1982.
To who?
Her name was Maria. Maiden name was Emond, E-M-O-N-D.
Children?
One. Born in 1982.
Name?
Brandy.
How old's so, okay. And then you got divorced when, I think you said?
1994.
When Brandy was 12?
Yes. Actually, she was just shy of 12 when we got divorced by about a month.
Okay. Brandy went to live with her mother, or you, or both?
We had joint custody. She lived with her mother most of the time until she graduated high school, then she come to live with me.
In the Defuniak Springs?
When she come to live with me, I was living in Freeport.
And then you said you remarried in 2010 to who?
Tina. Her name was Douglas, maiden name.
Okay. I want to ask you about your history of beach use. We just talked about when you rented in Blue Mountain and you rented at Gulf Walk. I want to talk about when you first began using the beach. Tell us about that.
First began using the beach when I was a child, preteen years. I can remember back to probably in the 8 to 10-year-old range, going with my parents.
What year was that?
61, 71, somewhere around maybe 70. I would have been 10 in 71, so probably maybe in the 69 to 70 range is about as far back as I can remember. My parents, I had a stepfather since I was 4 years old. His aunt owned a cabin, what I would call a cabin, a block house in Seagrove Beach on the Eastern Lake. On the lake, but not on the beach. We vacationed there in the summer. We would stay usually several weeks in the summertime. I learned to swim in Eastern Lake. Somewhere in that 10 maybe years old range, 11. We was in the lake, on the beach, growing up my entire life.
Let's talk about that. Your parents lived where in 1969 to 71 with you?
In Defuniak Springs.
So your parents had a home there as well?
No, my stepfather's aunt owned a block house on Eastern Lake in Seagrove Beach. My parents lived in Defuniak.
Right, that's right. Your parents lived in Defuniak Springs, but your aunt lived on Eastern Lake, or owned the block house.
She owned the block house. She did not live there. She lived in Defuniak Springs.
What's a block house?
Cinder block. House made of block.
When you used the beach as a kid, as a child, did you use the beach directly by the Eastern Lake outfall or directly in front of where Eastern Lake is located?
We would usually walk down somewhere in that proximity and then go. My stepfather always maintained some type of a four-wheel drive vehicle. He always had a beach permit. Back in those times, the beach permit was $25 and you could drive the length of the beach. If you could get past the outfalls. I grew up learning to drive that vehicle on the beach, and driving up and down the beach, far as we could go according to the outfalls. Sometimes we drive through the outfalls.
When you drove with your family, did you drive it all on the wet sand portion of the beach?
No, sir.
Why not?
Sometimes it would be dangerous to drive on the wet sand for sinkholes. Sometimes if it was hard packed enough, but tried to stay out of the wet sand actually most of the time, as I remember, because of the sinkholes.
What other activities did you participate in when you were a kid? And when I'm talking about when you were a kid, I'm talking about from the time you were 10 or 11 years old till you graduated from high school.
Playing in the sand, building sand castles, sliding down dunes on a corn sack, laying out on the beach, sitting on the beach, playing in the water, playing in the sand, playing frisbee, playing football, those types of things, fishing.
And as to all of these activities, other than driving up and down the beach, they were primarily just south of Eastern Lake or the outfall for Eastern Lake.
No, sir. Over the years, we've traveled from one end of the beach to the other for the length of the county.
And you said you traveled, but did you participate in the activities you listed?
Yes, sir.
At other beaches?
Yes, sir.
There were other people at the beaches during your childhood from, say, age 10 or 11 to when you graduated from high school?
Yes, sir.
Did you know who all of those people were?
No, sir.
Did you know who any of them were?
Occasionally.
You don't know whether the people that you saw participating in activities on the beach during your childhood, from ages, say, 10 or 11 to high school, were owners of beachfront property?
No,
right?
Sir.
Is that a true statement?
I don't know. No, sir.
So I'm trying to get a yes or no. Was that a true statement?
The true statement that I did not know if they were beachfront owners. No, sir. I did not know if they were beachfront owners or not.
Is it true you don't know if they were renters of beachfront property, these people who you observed in other activities up and down the beach during your childhood?
It's true. I do not know. Yes, it's true.
And you do not know whether or not the other people you observed engaged in activities on the beach were guests of, either owners or renters of beachfront property.
No,
right?
Sir. No, sir, I do not know. That's correct.
It's a true statement. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Levine, it's 10:30 local time. Could we take a 5-minute restroom break?
Absolutely. Let's take a 5-minute break and go off the record.
Thank you, sir.
We're going off the record at 10:28 a.m. We're back on the record. The time is 10:37 a.m.
Is the Adagio community, A-D-A-G-I-O. Did you hear my question, Mr. Parker?
No, sir. All I heard is the Adagio community. That's all I heard.
Okay, let me repeat that, okay? Where is the Adagio community located?
I do not recall.
Sitting here today, can you tell me whether or not the uses you've described during your childhood, including the use of the beach directly in front of the Adagio community?
I can tell you if that's in Walton County that I've traveled up and down the beach to its entirety and used the beach, specific locations. I couldn't tell you if it was even there or not back then. But I have went up and down the beach and in its entirety in Walton County.
Other than driving up and down the beach or walking up and down the beach, with respect to the uses you described, can you tell us sitting here today whether you use the beach directly in front of the Adagio community for the uses you've described?
No, sir, I could not say that.
At any time, not just in your childhood, true?
True.
The Blue Mountain community where you rented, you said was not on the beach, right?
Correct.
What was the correct name of that, if you recall?
I believe it was Blue Mountain Villas. I think. Best I can recall.
Sitting here today, can you tell us whether you use the beach directly in front of Emerald Shores Homeowners Association at any time during your life for the uses that you've described, except for riding up and down the beach?
No, sir.
That's because
can't pinpoint exactly where that is located or if it was even there back then.
Well, I'm asking at any time in your life. Can you tell me that whether or not you use the beach directly in front of Emerald Shores Homeowners Association at any time during your life for the uses you've described, excluding riding up and down the beach?
I couldn't tell you for certainty, no, sir.
Would your answer be the same for Gulf Winds East Homeowners Association?
Yes, sir. It's possible, but I couldn't be for certain, no, sir.
You wouldn't know. You don't know.
No, sir.
What's your answer? Yes?
That's correct.
True. I didn't get your answer. I'm sorry. It's the video.
That's correct. Yes.
Sitting here today, can you tell us whether at any time during your life you use the beach for the uses you described, except for walking up and down the beach, directly in front of Mediterranea of Destin condominiums?
Check to the form. Mr. Levine?
I heard your objection.
No, I was.
Go ahead and answer.
Mr. Levine, you incorrectly limited it to walking. He also said driving.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me rephrase the question. Can you tell me, sitting here today, whether or not you used the beach for any of the uses you described today, other than walking or driving up and down the beach, directly in front of Mediterranea of Destin condominiums at any time during your life?
I could not say for certain. Not even sure where that's at. Don't know if it was there then. So no, sir, I could not say that.
You understand that I'm asking at any time during your life?
I do understand, and it's possible.
Not asking you to guess. So without guessing, you can't tell us. So without guessing, you did not use the beach at Mediterranean of Destin condominiums for the uses you've described at any time during your life, except for maybe walking or driving up and down the beach. True?
I could not say for certain. That's correct.
Your answer would be the same for Seashells by the Sea, Master Associations, beachfront.
Yes, sir.
Your answer would be the same for Avalon Beach Estates.
Yes, sir.
Your answer would be the same for Beach Crest condominiums.
Yes, sir.
Your answer would be the same for beachside condominiums. You could not confirm today that you used these beaches directly in front of these communities at any time during your life, except for maybe walking or driving up and down the beach. True?
Without looking at a map, I cannot be so certain I know where those are at without looking at a map.
So the answer would be you could not confirm that you used those beaches.
Today.
True?
True.
When did you first, well, I haven't asked you specifically about your adult life. The video for the witness is frozen, like it did at the beginning. Is everybody else seeing a frozen video screen for the witness?
Yes. Correct.
Okay, let's go off the record until Squire can fix this.
We're off the record at 10:45 a.m.